I found the message on his phone. Meet me at the usual place. Need you. Sarah, my sister-in-law. What would you do if you were me? Could you breathe? I couldn't. Miami in spring is supposed to be beautiful. Sun shining, palm trees swaying. But all I saw were neon city lights flashing over a deserted alley as I drove, heart pounding, to the address she'd sent him. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I couldn't just sit at home and pretend everything was normal. He was 34, I was 33, and she was 30. 3 years we'd been married. 3 years of lies. I'd known Mark since college. He was kind, ambitious, and boring. I'd thought boring was safe. Sarah, his younger sister, was the opposite of boring. She was a whirlwind of energy, always chasing them. She moved to Miami a year after we did, supposedly to help us with our new business, a small online marketing company. She was good at it, I'll give her that. Too good, maybe. The alley was dimly lit, reeking of stale garbage. I parked a block away, my hands shaking as I walked towards the glow of a single street lamp. I could hear voices, muffled but familiar, his voice and hers. What would I say? What could I say? Did I even want to know the truth? I peeked around the corner. There they were, in his arms. He was kissing her, my husband. It was like a scene from a bad movie, except it was my life. My perfectly constructed, carefully curated life. Shattered. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just felt numb. I turned and walked away, the neon signs blurring in my vision. I needed to think. I needed a plan. I needed to figure out how my sister-in-law had managed to completely destroy my marriage without me even noticing. Mark was already gone, presumably off to work, or maybe to see Sarah. I couldn't even bring myself to care. I went downstairs and made a pot of coffee, scrolling through my phone. Nothing but the usual barrage of social media updates and spam emails. I clicked on our business account. Something felt off. The numbers didn't add up. We'd had a great month, but the profits were significantly lower than they should have been. I decided to dig deeper. Sarah handled most of the finances, so I hadn't paid much attention to the details. I started going through the bank statements, meticulously comparing them to our sales records, and that's when I found it. A series of small, seemingly insignificant transactions, all disguised as marketing expenses. But they weren't. They were transfers to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands, an account I didn't recognize. The total amount was staggering. Over $175,000. $175,000 that she had stolen from us. From me? And I'd been too busy being a good wife, a good partner to notice. Was I that blind? How could I have been so stupid? I felt a surge of anger, hotter and fiercer than anything I'd ever experienced before. This wasn't just about the affair. This was about betrayal on a whole new level. She hadn't just taken my husband. She'd taken my money, my trust, my security. She'd stolen my future. She had been siphoning money from the business for months, using her position as our trusted financial manager to cover her tracks. She even managed to forge my signature on several key documents. I found digital timestamps altered and deleted files recovered from a secure backup. The level of sophistication was chilling. I started to suspect that the affair wasn't just about lust. It was about control, about money, about power. Had she been planning this all along? Had she seduced Mark simply to gain access to our business? The thought made me sick. Then, late one night, I stumbled upon something truly disturbing. A hidden folder on Sarah's computer, password protected. After hours of trying different combinations, Inside, I found a series of encrypted messages, detailing a complex money laundering scheme. It looked like our legitimate business was being used to clean dirty money for someone else, someone powerful. And I was an unwitting participant. My phone buzzed with an anonymous text. "Stop digging. You don't want to know the truth." Was it Sarah? Was it Mark? Or was it someone else entirely? The thought of being involved with something so dangerous terrified me. What would you do? I decided to call my mother. We weren't particularly close, but I needed someone to talk to, someone who could offer me some perspective. "Mom," I said, my voice trembling, "I need your help." She listened patiently as I told her everything, the affair, the stolen money, the money laundering scheme. When I was finished, there was a long silence. I knew something was wrong. I just didn't want to believe it. "What do you mean?" I asked, my heart sinking. "Sarah came to me a few months ago," she said. "She asked me for a loan, a large loan. She said it was for a business investment. I told her I couldn't give her that much money." "Did she say what the investment was?" "No," my mother said. "She just said it was a sure thing." I didn't believe her. Now, I wonder. My mother knew more than she was letting on. I could feel it. But why hadn't she told me anything? Was she protecting Sarah, or was she afraid of something else? I ended the call feeling more confused and betrayed than ever. I couldn't trust anyone. Not my husband, not my sister-in-law, not even my own mother. I was alone, completely alone. I knew I had to go to the police, but I was terrified. What if they didn't believe me? What if Sarah had already covered her tracks? What if I ended up getting myself into even more trouble? But what choice did I have? I felt like I was preparing for war, and maybe I was. That evening, as I was about to leave for the police station, my phone buzzed again. Another anonymous text. "Meet me at the Bayfront Park fountain. Alone. I can explain everything." It was a trap. I knew it. But I couldn't resist. I had to know the truth. I had to know why. The Bayfront Park fountain was deserted, the water reflecting the city lights like a million tiny stars. I stood there, waiting, my heart pounding in my chest. The air was thick with humidity, the scent of salt and jasmine hanging heavy in the air. A figure emerged from the shadows. It was Sarah. She looked pale and drawn, her eyes red and puffy. "I can explain," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Explain what?" I demanded. "Explain how you slept with my husband? Explain how you stole my money? Explain how you used me to launder money for some unknown criminal?" "It's not like that," she said, her voice cracking. "I was desperate." "Desperate?" I scoffed. "Desperate enough to ruin my life?" She started to cry. "I never meant for things to go this far," she said. "It just happened." "It just happened," I repeated, incredulous. "You seduced my husband, you stole my money, you broke my heart, and you say it just happened." She looked down at her feet, her shoulders shaking. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I'm so, so sorry." "Sorry isn't enough," I said, my voice cold. "You've destroyed everything." She looked up at me, her eyes filled with desperation. "Please," she begged, "don't go to the police. I'll give you the money back. I'll leave town. I'll do anything." "Anything?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "Is that what you told Mark?" She flinched. "Mark doesn't know about the money laundering," she said. He just thinks we're in love." I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "He's a fool," I said, "and you're a monster." "Please," she said again, her voice pleading. "Give me another chance." I looked at her, really looked at her. I saw the fear in her eyes, the desperation, the regret. And for a moment, I felt a flicker of pity. She was my sister-in-law after all. We were supposed to be family. But then I remembered Mark, his betrayal, his lies. And I remembered the stolen money, the money laundering, the danger that she had dragged me into, and the pity vanished. "No," I said, my voice firm. "You don't deserve another chance." I turned and walked away, leaving her standing alone in the darkness. I didn't look back. I told them everything, showed them the evidence I had gathered. They were skeptical at first, but as they delved deeper into the investigation, they began to realize that I was telling the truth. Sarah was arrested, along with several other people involved in the money laundering scheme. Mark was devastated, of course. He couldn't believe that his sister had betrayed him, that she had used him. He begged me to forgive him, to give him another chance. But I couldn't. The trust was gone. The love was gone. The marriage was over. The legal battle was long and arduous. Sarah fought back, claiming that I was the one who was involved in the money laundering, that she was just trying to protect me. But the evidence was overwhelming. She was found guilty and sentenced to several years in prison. I managed to recover most of the stolen money, but the damage was done. My business was in shambles. My reputation tarnished. I had to start over. It was hard, but I did it. I rebuilt my business, stronger and more resilient than before. I learned to trust my instincts, to be more careful about who I let into my life. And I learned that sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who are most capable of betraying you. But the hardest part was forgiving myself, for being so naive, for being so trusting, for being so blind. It took me a long time, but eventually I realized that I wasn't to blame. I was a victim, and I deserved to be happy. A year later, I was sitting in a cafe with free Wi-Fi and glass walls in South Beach, sipping a latte and working on my new business plan. My phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. "I'm out," it read. "I need to talk to you." It was Sarah. My first instinct was to ignore it, to block the number and move on with my life. But a part of me was curious. A part of me wanted to know what she had to say. I hesitated for a moment, then typed a reply. "Where?" We met at a small park overlooking the ocean. Sarah looked different. Older, more subdued. The spark that had once been in her eyes was gone. "I wanted to apologize," she said, her voice quiet, "for everything." I didn't say anything. I just looked at her. "I know it doesn't excuse what I did," she continued. "But I was desperate. I owed a lot of money to some very dangerous people. I thought I could get away with it. I thought I could fix things." "And you thought destroying my life was the way to do it?" I asked. My voice cold. "No," she said, shaking her head. "I never wanted to hurt you. I made a mistake." "A mistake?" I repeated, incredulous. "You stole my money, you slept with my husband, you dragged me into a money laundering scheme. And you call that a mistake?" She started to cry. "I know," she said. "I know I messed up, but I'm trying to change. I'm trying to be a better person." I looked at her, really looked at her. I saw the genuine remorse in her eyes. And for the first time, I felt a flicker of something other than anger. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you," I said, "but I'm willing to try. If you're really serious about changing, about making amends, then maybe we can start over." She looked up at me, her eyes filled with hope. "Thank you," she said, her voice trembling. "Thank you for giving me another chance. I didn't know if I was making the right decision. I didn't know if I could ever truly trust her again. But I knew that holding on to anger and resentment was only hurting me. And I knew that everyone deserves a second chance. Or do they? What would you have done? Could you have forgiven her?" It's been 2 years since that day. Sarah is still working to rebuild her life. She's found a job, she's going to therapy, and she's trying to make amends for her past mistakes. It's not easy, but she's trying. As for me, I'm doing well. My business is thriving, and I found happiness in my own way. I've learned a lot about myself, about the importance of trust, and about the power of forgiveness. It wasn't easy, but I survived. I rebuilt my life stronger and more resilient than before. And I learned that sometimes the greatest victory is not revenge, but forgiveness. I'm not sure I truly trust her, but I no longer hate her. The neon lights of Miami still flash, but now they don't remind me of betrayal. They remind me of strength. They remind me of hope. They remind me of the woman I became after everything fell apart. "Coffee?" she asked. I smiled. "Okay," I replied. "Same place?" She was supposed to be family. She took everything. She almost destroyed me, but she didn't. Now I'm here, standing tall. What would you choose? Revenge or forgiveness? Like and subscribe for more stories like this. Write in the comments what you would choose. The cafe was bustling, a mix of tourists and locals, all bathed in the warm Miami sun. We found a table near the window, the aroma of coffee beans and freshly baked pastries filling the air. "So," I said, taking a sip of my latte, Tell me about prison. She winced. It was awful. You can't imagine. The isolation, the fear. It changes you. I could see the truth in her eyes. The carefree, ambitious Sarah I once knew was gone, replaced by someone hardened, wary. Did you think about what you did? I asked, pushing the question. Every single day, she replied, her voice barely a whisper. Every single day, I regretted it. Not just because of the consequences, but because of what I did to you, to Mark. I looked out the window, watching the waves crash against the shore. Could I ever truly believe her remorse? Could I ever truly forgive her? Part of me wanted to walk away, to cut her out of my life completely, but another part of me, the part that still remembered the good times, the part that still saw her as family, wanted to give her a chance. The money laundering, I said, turning back to her. Who were you working for? She hesitated, her eyes darting around the cafe. I can't tell you, she said. They're still out there, and they're dangerous? I sighed. I knew she wouldn't reveal everything. Some secrets were too dangerous to share. Okay, I said. I understand, but if you ever need help, if you're ever in trouble, you can come to me. She smiled, a genuine smile this time. Thank you, she said. That means a lot. We talked for another hour, catching up on our lives, avoiding the painful memories of the past. As I walked back to my car, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still off. Sarah wasn't telling me everything. There were secrets she was still keeping, but what were they? What was she so afraid of? Back at my office, I tried to focus on work, but my mind kept wandering back to my conversation with Sarah. I decided to do some research to see if I could find anything about the money laundering scheme that she had been involved in. I spent hours scouring the internet, searching for any mention of the people she had been working for. A small article in an obscure online news outlet, reporting on the arrest of a group of individuals involved in a sophisticated cybercrime operation. The article mentioned several names, but one in particular stood out, Ricardo the Shadow Vargas. Vargas was described as a notorious hacker and financial fraudster, known for his ability to disappear without a trace. He was also suspected of being involved in several high-profile money laundering schemes. Could he be the one Sarah was working for? I felt a chill run down my spine. If Vargas was involved, then I was in serious danger. He was known for his ruthlessness, his willingness to do anything to protect his secrets. I decided to call the police, to share what I had learned. But as I reached for my phone, it buzzed. Another anonymous text. Leave Vargas alone. This is your final warning. This was getting serious. Someone was watching me. Someone knew what I was doing. I unplugged my computer, shut down the lights, and locked the door. I wasn't safe here. I needed to disappear. I needed to get away from Miami. But where could I go? Who could I trust? I thought of my old friend Maria, who lived in the Everglades. Maria was a wildlife biologist, a strong and independent woman who wouldn't be afraid to help me. I called her, told her everything that had happened. She didn't hesitate. Come here, she said. I'll keep you safe. I packed a bag, grabbed my laptop, and drove to the Everglades. The Everglades were a world away from the glitz and glamour of Miami. A vast, sprawling wilderness of sawgrass prairies, mangrove forests, and cypress swamps. It was a place where you could disappear, a place where you could get lost. Maria lived in a small cabin on the edge of the Everglades, surrounded by nothing but nature. She greeted me with a warm hug, her eyes filled with concern. I'm so glad you're here, she said. You're safe now. I spent the bar. Maria showed me how to survive in the Everglades, how to identify edible plants, how to navigate the swamps. I learned to respect the power of nature, to appreciate the beauty of simplicity. I felt safe here, protected, but I knew that I couldn't hide forever. Sooner or later, Vargas would find me. I needed to be prepared. One evening, as we were sitting on the porch of the cabin, watching the sunset, Maria asked me a question. Why are you doing this? She said. Why are you risking your life to expose Vargas? I thought about it for a moment. Because it's the right thing to do, I said. Because I can't let him get away with it. He's hurt too many people. He needs to be stopped. Maria smiled. I understand, she said. I'm proud of you. That Maria had connections, people who could help me gather information about Vargas. She introduced me to a retired DEA agent who had spent years tracking Vargas's activities. He told me that Vargas was a master of disguise, that he could change his appearance and his identity at will. He also told me that Vargas had a network of informants and enforcers who were fiercely loyal to him. He's a dangerous man, the agent warned me. Be careful. I knew he was right. But I couldn't back down now. I had come too far. I needed to see this through to the end. The agent gave me a lead, a name of a woman who had once been close to Vargas. Her name was Isabella, and she lived in Little Havana. He advised that she's still in love with Vargas. Little Havana was a vibrant, bustling neighborhood, filled with the sounds of salsa music and the aroma of Cuban coffee. I found Isabella's apartment in a rundown building on Calle Ocho. She was a beautiful woman with dark eyes and long black hair, but there was a sadness in her eyes, a weariness that betrayed her youth. I told her who I was, what I was looking for. She was hesitant at first, but eventually she agreed to talk. I loved Ricardo, she said, her voice filled with pain. I thought he loved me too, but he used me. He used me to launder money, to smuggle drugs. He didn't care about me. He only cared about himself. Do you know where he is now? I asked. She shook her head. He disappeared a few months ago. I don't know where he went. Does he have any weaknesses? I pressed. She hesitated for a moment, then said, he has a daughter, a little girl named Sophia. He loves her very much. He keeps pictures on a cloud drive. Sophia. That was his weakness. If I could find Sophia, I could find Vargas. Getting access to Vargas's cloud drive was tricky. I contacted a cybersecurity expert, a friend of Maria's, who agreed to help. He was able to crack the password to Vargas's account, giving me access to his files. I found hundreds of photos of Sophia,